Our pace of living leaves us little time for leisure. Our program will give you a chance to experience the fascinating world of traveling, extreme adventures, hunting and fishing. Each week we will take you to the most beautiful places of Kazakhstan.
A week ago, in the last episode, we told you about the beginning of our expedition to the Saur Mountains. Our group was invited to eastern Kazakhstan by a keeper of the Aika Game Reserve. Being accompanied by huntsmen, we take part in the animal census on the ridges of Saur for the game reserve. In order to get to the Tebegen base camp, we have to travel for several hundreds of kilometers, which takes almost 7 days. Now the Sasikbugu tract is awaiting us. There are 2 hunter huts at the Tebegen base. Here, Ulan's group, that has been accompanying us all this time, is now handing us to their colleagues Sharif Khan and Merike from Tebegen. Their duty to make a raid across their territory starts here. Sharif Khan is an experienced guide. He's been working as a trophy hunting guide for 10 years now.
Впервые трофейную охоту в Сауре организовал Сергей Степанченко в 2000 году.
It was Sergei Stepanchenko who was the first to organize trophy hunting here in 2000. He owned the world-famous firm Asia Safari. Sergei Stepanchenko died in 2005. Before that tragic event, he had registered his own business, the Vostok Tour Service Game Reserve. After Stepanchenko's tragic death, the activity at the Zaissan Game Reserve was put on hold. But thanks to Aelita, who gathered experienced and trusted specialists in keeping game reserves, the game reserve has been revived.
В 2012 году срок аренды угодий закончился. Угодья были выставлены на тендер.
In 2012, the period of the rent of the territory came to an end. The plot of land was put out to a tender, and an entrepreneur from Zaissan, Aelita, won it. And right now we're involved in a plant census of the host species. We have to calculate the number of red deers, boars, roe deers and argaly goats. Although argaly hunting is not allowed, we are responsible to protect these species. Here we have a unique population of argaly goats. Some specialists say they belong to the Saur subcategory.
Архаров, которых некоторые систематики считают саурским подвидом.
Sharif Khan promised us to be our guide on secret mountain paths to the heart of Saur Mountains, where shepherds and poachers never go. It is difficult to eradicate the practice of poaching here, as it is impossible to guard every single rare species. Proving precedents for poaching cases is hard as well. We head for a territory protected from poachers by walls of high rocks, thick forests and fast-flowing rivers. We go towards Sasikbugu. Sasikbugu translates as red deer during a mating period. At 4 a.m. we are already on our horses. We are seen off by a female argaly goat from the top of one of the rocks. According to the cadastre of wild animals, Saur is inhabited by argaly goats that belong to the central Kazakhstani subspecies. But on the territory of China, the argaly goats of the same kind are considered as Saur species. We can imply that Saur is inhabited by the Saur wild rams, and in the central part of Kazakhstan there are central Kazakhstani wild rams. Very logical. There is no accurate information regarding the exact number of argaly goats in Saur, as there has never been census of these animals here. Census of these species is difficult to conduct because most of them spend the summer beyond the zone of engineering constructions on the territory between the Kazakhstani and Chinese borders, where access for ordinary citizens is extremely limited. but according to Kazakhstani experts, there may be up to 800 argalys of unidentified subspecies.
В горах лошадь это наше все.
In the mountains, a horse is indispensable. Successful hunting, as well as any trip in the mountains, depends on a horse in the first place. We're going up the hill and our horses are carrying everything, tolerating the hard conditions. It's amazing how much energy they have. We move towards the Mustau Peak, the highest point in the Saur Ridge. Down the hill in the valley it's boiling hot, but here it is quite chilly. We can even see some snow here. Here in the wild, where there is no livestock and where animals never see farmers around, they behave differently. Red deers rise for grazing later in the morning than on the territory of the game reserve, where they are relatively close to people. Here their evening grazing takes place earlier than in their similar habitat down the hill. Here, where the deer see people, they don't rush to run away, looking at the strange two-legged aliens for a little while, allowing the people to approach them for a distance of 300 to 400 meters, and only when people are closer they leave the place, slowly looking back at the strange visitors. We notice a herd of boars from a distance. We try to approach them. The wind doesn't betray us. The boars should be somewhere near us. Now we cannot see them, and suddenly we hear some noise. And then on the slope they appear. A swine surrounded by her piglets is digging the ground for roots in just 30 meters from us without paying attention to the observers. The swine does feel the threat and tries to threaten the unwanted visitors. We have to take some noise to deter it from attacking us. Sometimes wild animals take people for other wild species and attack them. A human being has to signal information that he or she is a human. A person in this situation should take an upright posture, take any object in his or her hands and shout. Unlike human beings, animals have no ambitions, so they attack people not to hit back on them or prove they are stronger, but because they have to protect themselves or they are young. The instinct is a driving force and tells the animal what to do in certain situations. Their behavior is determined by whether there is threat and aggression towards them or not. Such factors may include the size of the object and how much threat it may impose on them, as well as the distance between the animal and the threat and the noise level. For example, being in 100 meters from a human, a boar or a bear will choose to run away rather than attack the person. But if you bump into a dangerous wild animal at a distance of just 5 meters, the animal will be prone to attack you, driven by its instincts. This is Baituma. This tract was named after a very wise man who made a pilgrimage to Mecca. His name was Baituman. Many years passed and the name lost the last letter and the place is now called Baituma.
Древняя чашка.
Here's an ancient cup.
Вот по этой тропе 85 лет назад Алимбай.
Along this path, 85 years ago, one day, Alimbai, Turganbai's son, was leaving for China with all his clan. They were being chased by 27 frontier guards, directed by Captain Kolpakov. He was either a captain or lieutenant. Kolpakov was the 28th guard in the pursuit. Turganbai and his son Alimbai were abandoning their lands, leaving their livestock and the treasures of the Naiman clan and heading for China away from collectivization. Kolpakov, being aware that Turganbai might have had a treasure on him, decided to get him to take away all his valuable belongings, including gold.
Красные нагнали беглецов в урочище Алабай, куда мы сейчас едем.
The Red Army caught them at the Alabai tract, where we are heading now. It's also called Wali. It's near the Chinese border. Over the border, there is the Chinese town of Zimunai. There was a fierce battle, and Turganbay died with his family and all his clan except his son Alimbay. According to the legend, the young man who survived in the battle decided to take a revenge, making various traps for Kalpakov's platoon and killing them one by one in difficult-to-access paths. Only Kalpakov was smart enough not to get trapped. He was determined to find Naiman's gold treasure and went on pursuing Alimbay. When the Red Commissar was about to get Alimbay, the latter had only one bullet and couldn't afford to make a blunder. He hid behind a rock, aimed, looking only at Kalpakov's shade, and the bullet got in the enemy's head just between his eyes. After that, Alimbay buried all the corpse as well as Naiman's treasure at the foot of Mount Mustau. The anxious spirit of Kalpakov is guarding the lost treasure according to the legend and mopes around the Saur Valley at dark nights, scaring rare visitors and making them lost on the paths, where 85 years ago Kalpakov's soldiers died.
Сейчас, так же, как и в те времена, на этой тропе можно редко кого-то встретить. Строгий пограничный режим.
There is almost no soul here on this path, like many years ago. It's a border zone now, and access here is strictly limited, which is beneficial for the wild animals of the region. There is no livestock and shepherds. Only in the autumn, a few trophy hunters are allowed to hunt here. It's a land of argaly goats, mountain rams of the Saur subspecies. The number of these animals is not declining, on the contrary, according to some specialists, it's increasing. In the recent years, the populations of these animals have increased by several thousand species. We come across a wolf on our way. In June, wolves live on ground squirrels. The situation is different in September, when ground squirrels hibernate. Then wolves turn their attention to argaly goats, red deers and roe deers. This argaly goat apparently became a prey for wolves last winter. Any trophy hunter will be proud of such a trophy, and on the international market it will cost more than $10,000. There is one more legend about Saur. It is about one mountain lake which is called the Lake of Brides. According to an ancient tradition, the brides from the Naiman clan had to bathe in this lake in order to give birth to a strong child. The lake was formed 2000 years ago. It is believed that it was formed thanks to a meteor crater, and then it was filled with water from melted glaciers. Due to its specific chemical composition, the water from this lake is believed to help infertile women conceive. Having climbed down the river, we try to get through thick bushes, but very soon the horses get exhausted and we have to go up the plateau again. At the sunset, a female bear and its two cubs ramble towards the Sasik-Bugu tract. Tomorrow we will follow them. During the trip, we didn't have time to inspect all the tracts of the area. Saur still has a lot of secrets, but we fulfilled the main aim of the expedition. We have managed to draw tables of the number of hoofed species. The data will be processed, but even now it is evident that the populations of the wild species here are not in decline.